It was a moonless night in the Arizona desert, the kind where the darkness swallows everything beyond your headlights, and I picked up a hitchhiker who had no business being out there. I still wake up sweating, replaying the moment his face, or lack of one, turned toward me. I was driving back from a job in Phoenix, heading east on Interstate 10 toward Tucson. It was around midnight in the summer of 2015, the air thick with heat, even after sunset. I'd been on the road for hours, listening to static-filled radio stations to stay awake, when my high beams caught a figure standing on the shoulder. He was tall, dressed in faded jeans and a worn jacket, thumb out like any other drifter. Hitchhiking isn't uncommon in those parts. People break down, miss buses, or just wander, but something about him made me hesitate. His posture was rigid, almost like he was waiting for me specifically. Against my better judgment, I pulled over. "Where are you headed?" I called through the cracked window. He nodded toward the east without a word, climbed in, and we were off. The cab of my pickup felt smaller with him in it. He smelled faintly of dust and something metallic, like old blood or rust. I tried to make small talk to ease the tension. "Rough night to be out here alone," I said, glancing over. He kept his head turned away, staring out the passenger window at the endless black. "Yeah," he muttered, voice low and gravelly, like it came from deep in his chest. "Accident up ahead." I frowned, checking the road. No lights, no sirens, just empty highway. "What kind of accident?" He didn't answer right away, just shifted in his seat. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of tires on asphalt. I noticed his hands then pale, with dirt under the nails, clenched in his lap. No backpack, no belongings. Who hitchhikes without gear in the desert? As the miles ticked by, the unease built. The radio cut in and out, voices warping into whispers that didn't match the songs. I asked his name, called myself Mike to break the ice, but he ignored it. Instead, he started murmuring about the heat, how it burns, how the crash twisted everything. "The fire took my face," he said suddenly, still not looking at me. My grip tightened on the wheel. "What fire?" He turned slowly then, and that's when the world tilted. Where his face should have been, there was nothing. Just a smooth, blank expanse of skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. But somehow, I felt him staring, that void pulling at me like a black hole. The truck swerved as panic hit. I slammed on the brakes, skidding to the shoulder. "What the hell are you?" I yelled, fumbling for the door handle. He didn't move, didn't react. The cab filled with that metallic smell, stronger now, mixed with smoke. I bolted out, heart pounding, and ran a few yards into the scrub brush, expecting him to follow. When I looked back, the passenger door was open, but he was gone. No footprints in the sand, no sign he'd ever been there. The seat was warm though, and on the floor mat lay a scorched wallet, old, leather cracked from heat. Inside, a faded ID, Robert Klein, born 1952, address in Casa Grande. I drove straight to the nearest police station in Eloy, hands shaking the whole way. Bursting in, I told the desk sergeant everything, handing over the wallet. He listened, face neutral, then sighed. "You're not the first," he said, pulling out a file. Reports dated back decades, drivers picking up a faceless man on I-10, always at night, always vanishing. Klein had died in a fiery crash in 1978, his semi flipping and burning so hot they identified him by dental records. His face melted away. Police had investigated sightings, but nothing stuck, no evidence, just stories. They kept the wallet, took my statement, and sent me home with a warning to stay off the roads late. But it didn't end there. For weeks, I'd see shadows in my rear view, feel that blank stare in empty rooms. I moved out of state eventually, but the desert calls sometimes, and I wonder if he's still out there, thumb extended, waiting for the next ride. It It was one of those nights where the road stretched out endlessly under a starless sky, and I regretted not stopping for coffee earlier. I was driving home from a late shift, alone on a quiet highway in rural England, when I spotted the figure by the roadside, a small child, standing motionless, thumb out like they were waiting for a ride. I almost kept going. It was after midnight, and picking up strangers isn't something I do, especially not kids. But the thought of leaving a child out there in the cold gnawed at me. What if they were lost, hurt? I slowed down, pulled over, and rolled down the window. "Hey, you okay? Need a lift?" The child, a girl, maybe 10 years old, nodded silently and climbed into the back seat without a word. She was dressed in an old-fashioned white dress, pale skin glowing faintly in the dashboard light. No coat, no bag, nothing. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Her head was down, hair covering her face. "Where you headed?" I asked, trying to sound casual as I pulled back onto the road. No answer, just the hum of the engine and the occasional bump from potholes. The silence stretched on, making the drive feel longer. I tried again. "What's your name? Do your parents know you're out here?" Still nothing. I adjusted the mirror to get a better look, but she kept her face hidden, staring at her lap. The air in the car grew colder, like the heater had failed, and a faint giggling started, soft at first, like a child's laugh from far away. I thought it was the radio static, but it wasn't on. "You laughing back there?" I said, half joking to ease my nerves. The giggling got louder, echoing strangely, as if coming from all around me. My hands tightened on the wheel. Something felt off, but I couldn't place it. Maybe she was scared, traumatized from whatever had left her on the road. We'd been driving for about 10 minutes when she finally spoke. "Can I come home with you?" Her voice was high-pitched, innocent, but with an odd flatness, like she was reading from a script. I forced a smile, glancing back. "No, kiddo. We'll get you to the police station up ahead. They'll help find your family." She lifted her head then, slowly, and that's when my blood ran cold. In the mirror, her eyes met mine, or what should have been eyes. They were solid black, no whites, no irises, just endless voids staring back, pulling me in like dark wells. The giggling turned into a chorus surrounding the car, and the temperature plummeted further. Frost crept across the windows from the inside. I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop on the shoulder. "What are you?" I whispered, twisting around to face her. She was still there, unbuckled, sitting perfectly still, those black pits fixed on me. "Let me in," she said, her voice deeper now, insistent, but she was already in the car. Panic surged through me. I fumbled for the door handle, bursting out into the night air. The highway was empty, no cars in sight, just the wind whispering through the trees. I yanked open the back door, ready to pull her out or run anything, but the seat was empty. No sign of her, no footprints in the gravel outside. The giggling faded into the distance, like it was retreating into the woods. I stood there, heart pounding, scanning the darkness. How had she vanished? The car doors were locked from the inside. She couldn't have slipped out without me hearing. Shaking, I got back in and drove straight to the nearest town, reporting it to the local police. They listened politely, but I saw the skepticism in their eyes. "We've had similar reports around here," one officer said. "Kids with black eyes, asking for rides late at night. Urban legend, probably, but folks swear it's real." He mentioned Cannock Chase nearby, a forest with a history of sightings, ghostly children luring people, tied to old tragedies like diphtheria epidemics or even murders from the 1960s. That night changed me. I avoid driving alone after dark now, and when I do, I don't stop for anyone. Sometimes on quiet roads, I catch a glimpse in the mirror, a small shadow in the back seat, black eyes watching. But when I look again, it's gone. Whatever she was, she wanted something more than a ride, and I wonder if I'd said yes, where she would have taken me. had always loved hiking in the Nevada City area, where the trails wound through dense forests and along rushing rivers, offering that rare sense of isolation. But on that crisp March afternoon in 2025, what started as a spontaneous detour off the main path turned into a discovery that still haunts my quiet moments, making me question what else might be hidden in those woods. My friends and I had planned a simple day hike near the South Yuba Fork Bridge. We were a group of 3, me, my buddy Alex, and his sister Jen, all experienced enough to handle rough terrain, but not the type to seek out trouble. The bridge area is popular, with its clear waters and granite boulders, but we wanted something more challenging. After crossing the bridge, we spotted a faint game trail veering into the brush, overgrown with manzanita and poison oak. "Let's cut our own path," Alex suggested, half joking. Jen hesitated, glancing at the thick undergrowth, but I shrugged it off. The sun was high, we had water and maps on our phones, and the adventure called to us. Little did we know, that decision would lead us straight to something buried in the earth's secrets. We pushed through the brush, thorns snagging our clothes, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp soil. It wasn't long before the main trail disappeared behind us, and the forest closed in. The sounds changed too. The river's roar faded to a distant murmur, replaced by the rustle of leaves and occasional bird calls. I led the way, using a walking stick to part the foliage, feeling a growing unease I couldn't explain. It was like the woods were watching, the trees leaning a bit too close. Jen mentioned it first. "Does it feel quieter here? Like everything's holding its breath?" Alex laughed it off, but I noticed him glancing over his shoulder more often. As we descended a steep slope toward what looked like a dry creek bed, we started finding bones. At first they were small, scattered ribs and vertebrae, probably from a deer or coyote. "Nature's graveyard," I said, trying to sound casual. But the farther we went, the more bones appeared, clustered in unnatural piles, as if arranged by some unseen hand. Jen picked up a femur, holding it up to the light. "This looks too big for an animal," she murmured. We exchanged looks, the humor draining away. The terrain grew rugged, forcing us to scramble over rocks and through tangles of roots. My phone's GPS showed we were only a mile from the bridge, but it felt farther, like the forest was stretching itself out. The buildup of tension peaked when we reached a small clearing, shaded by towering oaks. That's where I spotted it first, a rounded shape, half buried in the leaves, pale against the dark earth. I knelt down, brushing away the debris, my heart starting to pound. It was a skull, unmistakably human, with empty sockets staring up at the sky. The jaw was missing, and moss clung to the cracks, but the dome was intact, weathered by time and elements. "Guys," I called, my voice steadier than I felt. Alex and Jen hurried over, and the color drained from their faces. We stood there frozen, the reality sinking in. No clothing, no other remains visible, just this solitary skull in the middle of nowhere. The woods seemed even quieter now, no birds, no wind, just our breathing. We backed away slowly, careful not to disturb anything more. Jen pulled out her phone to call the authorities, but the signal was spotty, only one bar. While she tried, Alex and I scanned the area, spotting more fragments, a few ribs protruding from the soil nearby, a vertebra caught in the roots. It looked like the body had been scattered, perhaps by animals or floods over the years. My mind raced with questions. Who was this person? How long had they been out here? The isolation hit hard. We were alone with this grim find, miles from help. Finally, Jen got through to 911, her voice shaking as she described our location. The dispatcher told us to stay put, mark the spot, and wait for deputies. Hours blurred as we sat on a log nearby, the sun dipping lower, casting long shadows that seemed to creep toward us. We didn't talk much, just shared water and tried to process it. I kept glancing at the skull, half expecting it to move, but it stayed still, a silent witness to whatever fate had befallen its owner. When the sheriff's team arrived, 2 deputies and a search dog, they confirmed it was human remains, likely skeletal and old. They cordoned off the area, took our statements, and praised us for not touching anything. As they led us back to the main trail, one deputy mentioned similar finds in the region, hikers stumbling on bones from long missing people, washed down by rivers or hidden by time. It wasn't until months later that we learned the full story. The remains were identified through DNA as Aaron Sloan Taylor, a 55-year-old man known to frequent the Miners Trail area. He'd gone missing years earlier, last seen camping nearby. No foul play suspected, just a tragic accident or natural causes in the wilderness. But knowing that didn't erase the chill. We had cut through that brush on a whim, following an invisible pull that led straight to him. What if we hadn't? How many others lie undiscovered out there? I haven't hiked that area since. The woods feel different now, like they're full of untold stories waiting to surface. Sometimes in dreams I see that skull again, sockets staring, as if thanking us or warning us to stay on the path next time.
Thank you for watching. Like this video, comment what scared you most, and subscribe to stay with us.